It's a warm, sleepy afternoon on a riverbank. A young girl named Alice is sitting by her sister, listening to a story, but she's finding it very difficult to stay interested. The sun is hot, the air is still, and the world feels a bit too quiet. That's when something strange happens. A white rabbit, wearing a waistcoat and carrying a pocket watch, scurries past. He's not just a rabbit, he's frantic, checking his watch and muttering about being late. Driven by a sudden burst of curiosity, Alice follows him down a large rabbit hole under a hedge. She doesn't just fall, she descends through a surreal vertical world. The fall is slow, almost leisurely, as she passes cupboards, bookshelves, and maps hanging on the walls. It's as if she's falling through the very architecture of a dream. Eventually, she lands in a hallway filled with locked doors. She finds a tiny golden key that fits a small door leading to a beautiful garden, but she's far too large to fit through. This begins a pattern that defines her entire journey, a constant, frustrating struggle with scale. Early on, she encounters a mouse and several other animals who participate in a caucus race. They all run in a circle, and when they finish, everyone is declared a winner and everyone receives prizes. It's a nonsensical way to run a race, but in Wonderland, the rules are as fluid as Alice's height. As she moves deeper into this landscape, she meets the caterpillar. He is a large blue creature sitting on a mushroom, smoking a hookah. He is calm, detached, and incredibly frustrating. He asks Alice a question that becomes the central tension of the book. Who are you? Alice finds she can't answer him. She's changed so many times, growing and shrinking, losing and gaining inches, that she no longer knows which Alice is the real one. She eventually uses a piece of the mushroom to control her size, allowing her to navigate the world on her own terms, and she makes her way into a beautiful garden. But the garden isn't a place of peace. It's a place of social chaos. She encounters the Duchess, whose house is a scene of domestic mayhem, filled with pepper and a baby that turns into a pig. This leads her to a meeting with the Cheshire Cat. The cat is perhaps the most iconic figure in the book, a grinning, floating head that can disappear at will, leaving only its smile behind. It's the cat who offers Alice a piece of perspective. He tells her that everyone in Wonderland is mad. He explains that he's mad, the Duchess is mad, and Alice is mad too, simply because she is in a place where the rules of logic don't apply. This sense of disrupted logic continues at a mad tea party. Alice finds the Mad Hatter and the March Hare sitting at a large table, engaged in a perpetual tea time. They speak in riddles, interrupt one another, and follow circular logic that leaves Alice completely bewildered. They explain that time has become a person, and because the Hatter had a quarrel with time, the clock has stayed stuck at 6 o'clock forever. In Wonderland, time isn't an abstract concept or a cosmic constant. It's a grumpy character that can be offended. Alice eventually finds herself in the garden of the Queen of Hearts. This is a place of high-stakes absurdity. The Queen is a volatile, irrational tyrant who treats life like a game of croquet, but her version of the game involves using live flamingos as mallets and hedgehogs as balls. The Queen's only consistent response to any problem is to scream, "Off with their heads!" It is a terrifying demand, yet it feels strangely empty, as if the threat of execution is just another part of the nonsensical social ritual. Before the chaos reaches its peak, Alice has a moment of melancholy. She meets the Gryphon and the Mock Turtle, who take her on a journey through their memories. They sing nonsensical songs and recount tales of a lost, real world, but their grief feels heavy and strange. It's a moment of quiet, sad beauty that contrasts sharply with the manic energy of the Queen's court. The climax of the story takes place during a ridiculous trial. The Knave of Hearts is accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. The entire courtroom is a farce. The witnesses are unreliable, the legal procedures are nonsensical, and the judge is just as much a part of the chaos as the accused. As the trial descends into pure absurdity, Alice begins to grow. She loses her patience with the irrationality of it all. She realizes that the authority figures around her, the Queen, the King, the jury, are nothing more than a pack of playing cards. As she shouts this realization, the cards fly up and attack her. Suddenly, the dream breaks. Alice wakes up on the riverbank, tucked beside her sister. The entire adventure was a dream, a product of her own wandering mind. The story ends with her sister looking at Alice and seeing not just a child but a dreamer, reflecting on the wonder of a mind that can create such a vast, strange and beautiful world. When we look back at Alice's journey, it's easy to see why it remains so influential. It was a radical departure from the literature of the mid-19th century. Most children's stories at the time were didactic. They were meant to teach a moral lesson or enforce a specific behavior. Lewis Carroll did something different. He wrote a story designed to delight, to confuse, and to play. He embraced literary nonsense, using the language of logic to dismantle logic itself. One of the most profound themes is the idea of identity and scale. Alice's constant physical transformations are a perfect metaphor for the transition from childhood to adulthood. Growing up is an unstable process. You feel too small for the world one day, and too large and awkward the next. You find yourself struggling to fit into the social structures that adults have built, and you often find that the rules of the adult world don't make much sense at all. Alice's struggle to answer the caterpillar's question, "Who are you?" is the struggle of anyone trying to find a stable self in a world that is constantly changing. Then there is the satire of authority. The Queen of Hearts and the chaotic trial of the Knave are sharp critiques of the rigid, often arbitrary hierarchies of Victorian society. The Queen's constant, performative threats of execution represent a type of power that is all noise and no substance. It's a depiction of authority that is based on temperament rather than justice, a theme that resonates because it feels so recognizably human. We also see a deep exploration of language. Wonderland is a place where words are often unstable. Puns, non sequiturs, and linguistic misunderstandings drive the plot. When the characters speak, they aren't always communicating information, they are playing with the mechanics of language itself. This highlights how much of our social reality is built on the shared agreement of what words mean. When that agreement breaks down, as it does in Wonderland, the entire social fabric unravels. The Cheshire Cat provides perhaps the most important philosophical pivot in the book, the idea that madness is a matter of perspective. In our world, we define sanity through social consensus. We are sane if we follow the rules and act according to the established logic of our community. But the cat suggests that if the rules themselves are arbitrary, then the distinction between sane and mad is essentially meaningless. Ultimately, Alice's adventures in Wonderland is a celebration of the imagination's ability to subvert order. It suggests that the world we see, the world of clocks, rules, and social hierarchies, is just one way of perceiving reality. Beneath that surface lies a much stranger, more fluid, and more colourful landscape. By following Alice through the rabbit hole, we aren't just following a girl through a dream, we are exploring the limits of logic and the boundless, often chaotic power of the human mind.